All right, let's kick off this explainer by confronting a pretty massive privacy problem. Every single day, billions of private conversations take place on messaging apps. We're talking about friends sharing personal moments, doctors discussing sensitive medical reports, businesses exchanging confidential info, and journalists communicating with secure sources. Now just imagine if the company operating that messaging app could potentially read every single word of those exchanges. I mean, that is a staggering privacy vulnerability.
So this brings us to a really fascinating question. If a message travels directly through Signal servers, which, by the way, it absolutely does, how can they confidently claim they can't read it? How is this fundamentally any different from the standard encryption we use every single day? To answer that, we really have to look at what true end-to-end encryption actually is. Today, we're going to track a single, highly sensitive message on its journey from Alice to Bob. We want to understand exactly how this architecture solves that vulnerability of a central server, ensuring that the server acts as nothing more than a blind courier delivering a locked package. Now, Signal doesn't just rely on some single magic algorithm to pull this off. Actually, it's more like a highly orchestrated symphony of cryptographic building blocks, all working together. You've got public key cryptography to establish shared secrets, symmetric encryption for efficiently locking the everyday messages, digital signatures to completely prevent impersonation, hash functions for integrity checks, and session keys that are continuously refreshed. It's the combination of all these elements that makes the whole system so incredibly robust. So, the absolutely crucial point is where this whole process begins: identity. The very first time you install Signal, your device creates long-term cryptographic identity keys. Think of this kind of like your permanent digital passport. But here is the total genius part. While public information goes to Signal servers to help people find you, your private identity keys fundamentally never leave your phone. The most sensitive secrets stay entirely under your local control. And this setup brilliantly illustrates how Signal handles the messy reality of the real world, like, users being offline. Let's say Bob hasn't opened his app today, or his phone is off. Maybe he's just ignoring his notifications. In a standard setup, this might totally stall a secure handshake. But Signal uses an ingenious offline prep method. Bob's device generates public keys in advance and leaves them on Signal's server. Think of them like locked mailboxes sitting outside his house. Alice can securely drop a message into one of those mailboxes anytime, and only Bob has the private key to actually open it when he comes back online. Which naturally leads us to the concept of a shared secret. When Alice opens a chat with Bob, her device pulls Bob's public mailbox info from the server. Before Alice even types a single word, their devices securely agree on a shared secret, but they do this independently. Because of the crazy math involved, both devices arrive at the exact same secret without ever actually transmitting that secret across the internet. This means anyone monitoring the internet connection intercepts absolutely nothing useful. Okay, let's trace this journey step by step. Step 1, Alice types her message. Let's say, the meeting is moved to 4 p.m. Step 2, the message gets scrambled mathematically on her phone using that shared secret we just talked about. Step 3, it bounces through Signal servers and the internet as a completely sealed package. And finally, Step 4, it only unlocks and transforms back into readable text once it hits Bob's screen, using the keys stored locally on his device. Now, what's absolutely crucial to understand here is the timing of that second step. The encryption happens entirely locally on Alice's device before it ever touches the internet. Not after it reaches the server, but before it even leaves her hand. This local pre-transit encryption is the absolute defining characteristic of true end-to-end encryption. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful reality. Throughout this entire transit, Signal servers are literally just a blind courier service. They receive the package, they might hold it if Bob is offline, and they forward it when he's ready. But they never possess the keys to open it. To Signal, Alice's highly confidential meeting update is simply mathematical gibberish waiting to be delivered. But Signal actually goes a massive step further. Think about it. You wouldn't use the same exact lock for your house for your entire life, right? Because if someone stole that one key, they'd have access forever. Well, Signal doesn't either. They constantly update the encryption keys during a conversation. It is literally the equivalent of a frantic locksmith changing the lock on your front door after every single package is delivered. Stealing today's key does absolutely nothing to help an attacker unlock tomorrow's messages. Let's dive into the technical engine room for just a second to see how this is actually built. Signal's reputation relies heavily on the Signal protocol, which leverages two totally fascinating components. First, there's X3DH, or Extended Triple Diffie-Hellman, which seamlessly handles that offline mailbox setup we talked about.
Second is the Double Ratchet algorithm, which acts as the engine continuously evolving and deriving those fresh encryption keys as you chat. This continuous evolution, powered by the Double Ratchet, grants your chats two incredible superpowers. The first is Forward Secrecy, meaning if an attacker compromises your keys today, your past messages remain completely safe and unreadable. The second is Post-Compromise Security. If your device is temporarily hacked, but you regain control and the attacker loses access, your chat security actually heals itself as new keys are generated, totally securing your future messages.
I know what you're probably thinking right now. If this is all happening directly between these two devices, what actually happens to Alice's message if Bob is totally disconnected from the internet or his phone is completely turned off? Does the message just disappear into the void?
Well, not at all. The server will just temporarily hold on to the data until Bob reconnects. But pay super close attention to this distinction. It is holding the entirely encrypted message. It is holding mathematically scrambled gibberish, not your private conversation. As soon as Bob comes online, the encrypted data is delivered, decrypted locally on his phone, and the server's job is done.
You know what's truly staggering to consider here? The sheer speed of this entire process. Verifying identities, establishing shared secrets, encrypting the message locally, routing it, storing it, delivering it, and decrypting it. All of that happens in just a fraction of a second when you hit that send button.
Okay, so let's flip the script for a moment and put on our hacker hats. If you know you absolutely cannot break the advanced math of the Signal protocol, and you know you can't read anything useful directly off the company's servers, how do you actually go about reading Alice and Bob's messages? Where's the weak link?
Well, you attack the endpoints. You go after the user's physical device. Because honestly, modern cryptography is rarely the weakest link in the chain anymore. The real vulnerabilities are spyware, malware infecting the phone, an unlocked device left on a coffee table, phishing pages tricking users, or compromised backups.
And that means we really need to shatter a massive myth right here. People so often think, hey, I have end-to-end encryption, therefore absolutely nobody can ever access my messages. The reality is quite different. Encryption guarantees safe transit and safe servers, but if your phone is infected with malware, an attacker doesn't need to break the math. They can literally just read the message right off your screen after your own device legally decrypts it. You have to protect your physical device.
So let's do a quick final security check based on the architecture we've just explored. Can Signal read your texts? No way. They lack the decryption keys. Can your internet provider read your texts? No. They only see encrypted network traffic. What if Signal servers are completely, fully hacked? Still no. Hackers might get some metadata, but without your local device keys, your message contents remain completely protected.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this core philosophy of true privacy. The server delivering your message is not the same as the server understanding your message. True privacy means only the sender and the recipient hold the keys to unlock the conversation. So the next time you send a sensitive message, you gotta ask yourself who else is holding a copy of your keys.